Welcome to a Powerless Mage Presents, and this is the Deep Dive.
It's really great to have you with us today.
We're glad you could join us, because today we are setting out on, I think, a really crucial internal journey.
We really are. We're not just, analyzing some text. We are diving deep into source material that is designed to cut through all the noise of daily life.
And get to something fundamental.
Exactly, something fundamental. We're talking about those psychological anchors, the things that just keep us stuck.
Yeah.
So our goal today is to pull out some profound, but more importantly, some actionable insights. Things you can actually use that can translate, hopefully immediately, into greater well-being and, real progress in your life.
And the source material we're working from today is a really powerful, reflective essay. It pulls its wisdom from these ancient philosophical principles that are found in the teachings of Don Juan by Carlos Castaneda. Specifically, we're focusing on this concept of the four enemies of the man of knowledge. Now, I know what you might be thinking. When you hear a title like Man of Knowledge, you're probably picturing something really esoteric, something that has nothing to do with your Monday morning commute.
And that's a totally fair reaction. In fact, that's precisely the reaction we want to get past today.
So this isn't some high-minded philosophy lecture.
Not at all.
Yeah.
While the original framework might bring up images of mystics or strange rituals, the absolute genius of this work is in its psychological weight. It's gravity.
It's practical.
It's incredibly practical. It gives us a perfectly structured model for understanding why we stay limited, and it shows us the path to overcoming it. This has nothing to do with magic.
Yep.
It's all about the architecture of your mindset and that deep internal resistance we all have to growth.
Okay, so let's define our mission for this deep dive then. We're going to be laser focused.
We're
We're dedicating this whole conversation to just the first enemy.
the first one, because that's the most important one to tackle first.
Why is that?
Well, because it's the most common. It's the most deceptive. And honestly, it's the one that sabotages most people's attempts at any real change long before they even get started.
So our job is to dissect it, to really pull it apart, look at its true identity, strip away all its disguises.
And most importantly, to persuade you that understanding this enemy is the absolute first step you have to take toward any kind of real transformation.
This isn't just theory then.
No, this is an invitation to recognize and finally to move beyond the limits you've placed on yourself, the limits that are, right now, defining your potential.
And there's a paradox at the heart of it, isn't there? The biggest obstacle to knowledge, to, growth or a better life, it doesn't show up looking like a monster.
No, it's a master of disguise, a master of subtle misdirection. It comes to you dressed up as caution or as being reasonable or even as just stability.
It pretends to be your protector.
It absolutely does. So we have to peel back all of those familiar, comfortable layers to see the true obstacle that's standing between who you are right now and who you really could become.
Okay, let's do it. Let's unpack this and start with section 1. The surprising identity of fear. So the essay gives this first great enemy a name, miedo, which translates from Spanish to English as simply fear.
Just fear. And that's where the deception begins, right out of the gate.
How so?
Well, because when we hear the word fear, our modern brains, they just immediately jump to the most extreme, the most terrifying images.
Right, external threats.
Exactly. The source material knows this, and it intentionally addresses this cognitive trap we fall into. If I tell you the first enemy on your path to fulfillment is fear, you instantly build this dramatic cinematic image in your mind.
You expect a monster, a giant mythological beast, like you mentioned Cerberus, the three-headed dog guarding the underworld.
A challenge that is obvious, that's monumental, and crucially that is external to you, something you have to go out and fight.
Or to bring it into a more modern context, we imagine a horror movie villain, an unstoppable slasher like a Jason Voorhees or a Freddy Krueger, something that breaks the laws of nature, that's out there, hunting you from the shadows.
Yes, we want that. We crave that kind of external clarity.
Why do we crave that?
Because if it's a physical threat, we feel like we know what to do. We can run from it, we can fight it, we can hide from it. There are clear actions to take.
It's a problem with a clear solution, even if it's a hard one.
Precisely. But the problem with that whole expectation is twofold. First, it makes us assume the enemy is outside of us. And second, it lets us believe that the solution is some kind of heroic, one-time fight. You slay the dragon and you're done.
But the source says that's not it at all.
Not even close. The source points out that this enemy's appearance is subtle. It's intimate. It's rooted deep inside your own internal systems.
So we need to stop right here and draw a really clear line in the sand. We are not talking about instinctual fear.
This is maybe the most critical differentiation for you, the listener, to grasp right now. The enemy we call fear is not the basic instinctual anxiety that all humans feel.
That's the good kind of fear, right? The kind that keeps us alive.
It's your survival software. That primal response, that rush of adrenaline when a car swerves into your lane, or that healthy caution you feel at the edge of a cliff, that system is your friend. It's a necessary biological program for survival.
We're talking about something else entirely.
Something completely different, a conceptual, paralyzing anxiety.
Okay, so that brings up a huge question. If it's not the fear of a lion chasing us, where did this conceptual enemy, where did it even come from?
The essay gives us a really fascinating historical lens for this. It traces the origin story way, way back to what anthropologists call the cognitive revolution.
So we're going back tens of thousands of years.
Around 70,000 years ago, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It requires a moment to really put yourself in that mindset. Imagine our ancestors. Their lives were dictated almost entirely by instinct.
Fight or flight, hunger, finding a mate.
Immediate gratification, simple social hierarchies. Their brains were hardwired for one thing: short-term survival.
Get through today.
Get through today. But then, something incredible shifted. The cognitive revolution began, and humanity started developing abstract thought.
This is when we started creating things that didn't physically exist.
Exactly. Truly complex language, the ability to imagine things like gods, or complex laws, or money. We started coordinating in massive groups, with people who weren't our relatives, planning for futures far beyond the next sunrise.
And this intellectual leap gave us, as a species, a huge advantage. We became the dominant force on the planet.
We did. But this incredible gain came at a profound internal cost. And this brings us to what the source calls the evolutionary dissonance. This is the very moment the enemy we call fear was conceptually born.
Dissonance, so a conflict, a clash.
A massive internal conflict that, frankly, we still haven't resolved even tens of thousands of years later. Think about it. Our ancient instincts, which were honed over millions of years of biological programming, they screamed one command at us.
Play it safe.
Play it safe. Stick to what you know. Conserve your energy. Avoid anything new. Safety was always found in repetition and in certainty.
But our new minds, our revolutionary abstract ideas, they demanded the exact opposite.
The complete opposite. They told us to take risks, to innovate, to venture into the unknown. They asked us to trust abstract concepts like a plan or a future harvest.
To sacrifice comfort right now for a potential gain way down the line.
And that created a profound, terrifying choice that our ancestors had to make over and over again. We were suddenly forced to choose between what we already knew, our instincts, that feeling of certainty, the immediate reward, and what might work.
The new idea, the uncertainty, the potential for a massive reward, but also
A potential for massive, unpredictable failure.
Can we make that more concrete? Like, what would an example of that look like for an early human?
Sure. Let's use a hypothetical to really illustrate this tension. Imagine a small group of proto-humans gathering berries. Their instinct, their old brain, tells them to eat every single berry right now.
Of course. Survival demands immediate energy.
Immediate energy storage, yes. But then abstract thought comes online. It introduces the idea of saving some of the berries, of storing them for a difficult winter that's months away in a specific hidden cave based on a plan.
A plan that might completely fail.
It might fail due to mold or another animal finding the stash or just forgetting where you hid it. So the instinct is screaming, danger, you need that energy now. But the abstract mind is whispering, if we take this risk, we all survive the winter.
Oh.
That anxiety, that tension inherent in choosing the unknown, high-reward, abstract plan over the immediate, low-reward, instinctual safety, that tension is the birth of the enemy fear.
The known path was stable, right? Even if that path meant living on the edge of starvation all the time.
It was predictable. Meanwhile, the unknown path, the path of ideas, was intellectually superior. It promised a better life, but is psychologically terrifying because the tools for success were totally new.
And that deep anxiety, the feeling you get when you're choosing the new thing over the known thing, even when the known thing is painful, that is the true origin of this enemy.
That's it. Now, a lot of listeners might have heard the term cognitive dissonance in, modern psychology, where it usually means holding two conflicting beliefs at the same time.
Right.
We need to be clear how the source is using it here. It's using it in a much more foundational sense. It's describing that profound, paralyzing internal conflict that is inherent in choosing abstract knowledge over instinctual bodily certainty.
So it's the constant argument inside your head.
It is. It's your rational goal on one side versus the powerful ancient urge to retreat to safety on the other.
So to put it all together, this conceptual enemy fear is the anxiety that gets triggered anytime an opportunity for growth appears, but that growth requires leaving behind what's familiar.
Perfectly put. It's a part of your brain that argues, yes, starting that new business or learning that difficult skill or having that crucial, honest conversation that might lead to happiness. But what if it doesn't? Staying here in this job I hate, where the pain is established, at least it's predictable.
That predictability is the key.
It's the core psychological magnet. It's this deep desire to maintain safety and control within the parameters you already know. And it's a powerful, almost neurological resistance to venturing out into the unknown waters of real knowledge and real change and real effort.
Okay, so this is a good place to pause and really internalize this idea. We want you to ask yourself, how often do you find yourself defaulting to an old, comfortable pattern, maybe a habit you say you hate, or a situation you know you should have left months or even years ago? You do it simply because that old pattern requires zero effort or thought. Even when your rational mind knows, absolutely knows, a new approach would give you exponentially better results. Okay, so we've traced this internal conflict all the way back to this collision between our ancient instincts and our new abstract minds.
That evolutionary dissonance.
It created this anxiety of choice. But in our modern world, this profound enemy, fear, has found a much more benign name, a dangerously misleading one, actually.
It has. The source essay makes a very powerful connection between that ancient anxiety and what we now refer to in everyday language as the comfort zone.
The comfort zone. I mean, it sounds so harmless. It sounds like a phrase you'd hear from a self-help guru on a talk show.
It suggests warmth and ease and relaxation, like a cozy armchair.
But if we follow the source material, the real technical definition is actually far more chilling than it is cozy.
Let's define it for you, the listener, in the clearest possible terms. The comfort zone is simply this: the set of things that we already know. That's it.
The set of things we already know. So that's everything.
It's the totality of your mental landscape. Your daily routine, your automatic reactions, your habits, your relationships, your current skills, everything for which you have a known, predictable outcome. And here's the key: whether that outcome is good, bad, or utterly painful.
And this is the critical counterintuitive point that just completely undermines the whole idea of comfort. We have to shatter this assumption that the comfort zone is always a pleasant place to be.
That is absolutely essential to understand. This is where the enemy thrives, because inside this zone are not just your pleasant routines like your morning coffee. Inside this zone are also the pains and discomforts that are already known to us.
So fear isn't promising you happiness.
No, it is offering you familiarity. And it will take familiarity, even if that familiarity is terrible, debilitating, or actively destructive to your life.
That's a huge insight. The idea that when a pain becomes familiar, your brain just stops treating it like an emergency.
It stops being a fire you need to put out. It just becomes part of the landscape. It's like a mountain you have to climb every single day to get to work. It's difficult, it's exhausting, but it's known. You know the path.
You have a coping mechanism for it, even if it's a terrible one.
Exactly, even if it's an ineffective one. Let's really drill down on the concrete example from the source, the professional scenario.
The toxic boss.
The toxic boss. If your boss is someone who regularly yells at you, or if you constantly feel undervalued and you just dread Monday mornings, that feeling of discomfort, of being mistreated, is actively and horrifyingly a part of your comfort zone.
Why? It feels so awful. Why would my brain categorize that as comfort?
Because even though it hurts, you know the exact script. You know the cadence of the yelling. You know the kind of passive-aggressive email you're going to get at 4 p.m. on a Friday. You know the precise timeline of the anxiety that builds up in your stomach before the weekly review meeting.
So you've developed responses.
You've developed known, low-effort cognitive responses. They may be bad ones, like stress eating or venting to your partner every night or just total avoidance, but they were predictable responses to a predictable pain.
And the brain loves predictable.
The human brain prefers the familiar, even if it's negative, because the familiar requires less cognitive load, less energy. You don't have to spend your precious mental resources mapping out a whole new strategy for a whole new set of problems.
While the alternative, leaving, that's the unknown.
And that's terrifying. The uncertainty of finding a new job, the awkwardness of going through interviews, the risk of joining a new company where, guess what? The problems are different. They're unknown. And they require high effort, brand new coping skills. Your fear instinct perceives that uncertainty as a far greater threat than the predictable, known mistreatment you're currently putting up with.
This painful familiarity. It's the engine of stagnation, isn't it? Fear just locks you into this cycle of comfortable discomfort.
It does. And from this deep psychological place comes that infamous, universally known, but deeply retrograde phrase that we use to rationalize it all.
The phrase that acts as the ultimate anesthetic against any kind of growth.
Better the bad thing you know than the good thing you don't.
I think everyone has either said that or heard it 1,000 times. It sounds so simple. It's a piece of folksy wisdom.
And yet it's a beautifully crafted line of pure self-sabotage.
Let's break down the psychology of it. Why is that phrase so persuasive to us?
It's devastatingly persuasive because it successfully convinces us that any known negative, a job you hate, a toxic relationship, chronic debt, a destructive habit, is somehow preferable to the mere possibility of an unknown positive outcome.
It completely ignores the upside.
It discounts the upside potential to zero, simply because the path to get there is uncertain. It forces us to prioritize certainty over viability. We choose the certain negative over the uncertain positive every time.
Okay, but I have to push back on this a little bit. Isn't some predictable pain just necessary stability? What if I have a really challenging job, but I stick with it because I need the paycheck for my family, I need the health insurance? How do I tell the difference between just accepting life's challenges and actually submitting to the enemy fear?
That is a crucial distinction. And it's the line that separates adult responsibility from stagnation.
Yeah.
Necessary stability paying your bills, putting in responsible effort on a difficult but valuable task. That's knowledge being applied. That's a choice.
Yeah.
Submission to fear, on the other hand, is when you tolerate a pain or a limitation that actively prevents your future growth without any rational benefit. If the difficulty you're facing is leading to mastery or to learning something new or to long-term stability for your family, that's resilience.
That's productive struggle.
Exactly. But if the difficulty is purely repetitive, destructive, and you know in your heart there is a better path, but you refuse to even look at it simply because of the uncertainty involved in making a change, that is fear winning.
So the comfort zone isn't a place of relaxation at all. It's more like a holding cell defined by its predictability.
That's a perfect way to put it.
And the source material is really clear on this. The primary function of this enemy, fear, is to prevent us from leaving that predictable space, no matter how damaging or painful it has become.
The very moment you feel that tug, that little spark of wanting to learn a new skill, or invest in a better relationship, or start a difficult fitness routine, or apply for a more challenging job.
That's when it kicks in.
That's when it kicks in. That anxiety, that immediate urge to retreat, that voice in your head that starts rationalizing, oh, it's fine how it is. That is fear working in its comfort zone disguise.
It's whispering the lie.
It's whispering the lie that this familiar pain is manageable, and therefore it's superior to the uncertain pain of trying and potentially failing at something new, and it is relentless.
Let's really let that lesson sink in. We want you to think about a negative situation that you've tolerated for months, or maybe even years. It could be a pattern in your finances, a consistently strained dynamic with a family member, or a personal habit you wish you could quit. What is the familiar pain? What is the predictable discomfort that is preventing you from taking that necessary but uncertain step toward true and meaningful improvement? As we move into Section 3, I think we're starting to realize the real danger of this enemy isn't its power, but its disguise. It doesn't look like an adversary that you need to fight. It looks more like a caregiver that you should trust.
The source material shifts the analogy so perfectly here. Fear is not the mythical monster. It's not the slasher villain. It's described as a maternal, overprotective figure.
And that insight makes the enemy feel so much more relatable, but also so much more insidious.
Profoundly insidious. Because this is a caregiver who operates under the guise of love.
It says it's trying to protect you.
It says its true purpose is to keep you safe, but its actual purpose is to keep you small and dependent. Out of what it perceives as this excessive devotion, it decides that the outside world, the world of knowledge, of uncertainty, of growth, is just too dangerous for you to handle.
So you have to stay here, where it's safe, where it's predictable, and forever restricted.
The mindset is crystal clear. For fear, you will always be its baby. It needs your dependency because your dependency guarantees its control and it guarantees predictability.
So actively pushes away anything that would help you grow up.
It pushes away what the source calls the horrible knowledge. And that's not horrible because it's evil. It's horrible to fear because it's effective. It's the hard-won lessons, the painful but necessary truths, the demanding new skills, all the things that would actually make you stronger and independent and ultimately free from its control.
How does this maternal figure actually show up in our day-to-day lives? What does it sound like?
Well, it's not just a voice of reason. It's that voice of procrastination that tells you, oh, you can start that tomorrow. You've had a hard day. You deserve to rest today.
It's the elaborate excuse you build for yourself to avoid making that difficult phone call.
Or to avoid finally sitting down and restructuring your finances. It's that pattern of self-sabotage where you get 90% of the way to achieving a big goal, and then you intentionally falter at the last step.
Why would you do that?
Because faltering guarantees a return to the known, predictable comfort of not quite succeeding. Success is a new territory. Failure is familiar.
So that constant, low-level voice is just working to make sure you remain capable only of existing inside the walls of the familiar.
And it does this by using a masterful strategy, the strategy of devaluation.
Devaluation. So it makes the goal seem worthless.
Exactly. That's how fear sells you on this restrictive lifestyle. If the thing that's outside your comfort zone is perceived as being frivolous or unimportant, then the effort required to go get it seems absurd. Why bother?
Right. It convinces us that what's out there, the true knowledge, the massive opportunity, the better life, isn't actually worth the anxiety you'd have to go through to get it.
It reduces the perceived value of the prize. Let's say you're considering applying for a higher position at work. Fear intervenes. Its voice says, that promotion isn't that important. It's just more meetings, more responsibility, more stress. You can live perfectly fine without that complicated title.
Or if you think about going back to school.
The voice says, that knowledge is all theoretical. It's unnecessary. You've done fine so far without it. It's an expert at minimizing your ambition.
So it's actively shrinking the circumference of your viable universe.
That's a great way to put it. Any spark of curiosity, any genuine yearning for something more, for mastery or a new skill, is just quickly dismissed as being unnecessary or, and this is a key one, too difficult for you specifically.
It personalizes the limitation.
It does. It convinces you that your highest potential is, in fact, located precisely where you are standing right now.
And this is where that concept of learned helplessness starts to take root, isn't it? It feeds the comfort zone.
It's the fuel. The internal voice of fear tells you over and over that since you are dependent and incapable, all these external circumstances are just overwhelmingly powerful. So why even try? Why make the effort if the outcome is essentially predetermined by your current limited capabilities?
And here's the part that is just. It's truly tragic. It should resonate with anyone who is genuinely seeking growth. A person can live their entire life controlled by this fear of knowledge, this resistance to novelty and effort, without ever once realizing that they're trapped.
The cage is invisible. It is invisible because it feels like the secure, pre-approved confines of home.
So they spend decades just managing the same predictable pain.
The same strained finances, the same dull job, the same mediocre health, all the while believing that this is simply the reality of existence. This is just how life is.
And the ultimate cost of giving in to this first enemy, it's not just missing out on a promotion or a vacation.
It's a life lived in the shadow of your own potential. It is the failure to ever truly meet the strongest, most capable, most alive version of yourself.
It's the blockade to growth itself. I mean, if you let fear dominate your choices, you prevent all forward development, period.
By making the familiar seem like the safest and only viable option, even if that familiar environment is actively damaging your relationships or your mental health or your financial stability, fear guarantees one thing: stagnation.
You cannot learn. You cannot evolve.
And you cannot achieve that profound sense of purpose that comes from growth.
So think about this blockade and what its long-term effects really are. If you were to see your life 5 years from now still held back by this fear of the unknown, the fear of applying for a different career, the fear of starting that challenging new skill, the fear of telling someone how you truly feel, what essential part of your potential will have been permanently lost? What version of yourself will you never get the chance to embody? Okay, we have spent a lot of time detailing the enemy and the trap and the cost. And if that has felt a little heavy, it's because the price of stagnation is incredibly high.
It is.
But now we have to talk about the payoff. Why would anyone endure this difficult internal struggle against what you called the comfortable pain? What is the reward for confronting fear?
I think we have to begin by just being honest about the difficulty. The path away from the comfort zone, the path of knowledge, is defined by intentional choice and sustained effort, and the willingness to endure the anxieties of the unknown.
It's not easy.
Knowledge is not given to you freely. It is taken through effort. But the source material gives us a very powerful motivational reminder here. The truly valuable things in life are rarely, if ever, easy.
And the purpose of this path, it isn't just about escaping pain, which I think is what motivates a lot of us at first.
That's the initial catalyst, for sure.
But it's about moving towards something profoundly positive, something the essay describes as a path of love and connection.
And this is the ultimate crucial shift in your perspective. When we're trapped inside the comfort zone, we are hyper-focused on self-management.
Just managing our own little world.
Managing our own predictable pains and anxieties in a totally isolated way. We are functionally very small. We're operating only within the constraints of what we already know.
But when we step out
And we genuinely embrace the pursuit of knowledge, when we overcome fear, we achieve something so much greater than just personal success or a new job title.
we achieve what the source calls the profound satisfaction of becoming part of something bigger than oneself.
And we need to connect this abstract idea to the concrete everyday experience of the listener. What does something bigger actually mean?
Right. It sounds nice, but what is it?
It means shifting your focus from consumption to contribution. It means finding a purpose that extends beyond your own personal immediate concerns. It's the difference between doing a job only to get a paycheck and doing a job because your mastery and your effort genuinely improve the lives of other people
Yeah.
or improve the quality of the system you're working within.
And that shift happens the moment you decide to prioritize learning over safety.
Yes. The moment you choose to master a difficult skill, you're not just helping yourself, you're increasing the overall capability of the world around you. When you choose to have that difficult, honest conversation to deepen a relationship, you are contributing to a stronger social fabric.
That is the essence of connection.
It is. Knowledge makes you an integrated part of the world. It means realizing that your growth and your mastery and your deep understanding, they resonate. They create an impact.
And that feeling of resonance, of belonging, of being essential to a larger process.
That profound sense of integration is what the essay defines as love. It is the absolute opposite of the isolated, restricted, protected life that fear demands you live.
And this transformation isn't just about external connections. It's primarily about internal evolution, isn't it?
It is. You don't just get the new outcome like the new job. You become the kind of person who is capable of handling that outcome. You transform into something greater than you were in the past.
Fear wanted you to stay a baby.
Fear intended for you to remain a baby, predictable, anxious, and safe inside the familiar. The pursuit of knowledge, however, transforms you into an adult, someone who is capable of navigating profound uncertainty and is powerful enough to shape your environment and your circumstances rather than just reacting to them all the time.
So this whole journey is about maximizing your potential, unlocking the skills and the capacity you always had inside you but never dared to use.
Because the voice of fear insisted they were unnecessary or they were too risky for you.
Through this process, we gain true resilience.
That's a huge part of it. When you voluntarily face the unknown and you survive it, and you will, you learn that you are adaptable. You learn that you are capable. So the next challenge, while it's still uncertain, it becomes less terrifying because you now have empirical proof of your own capacity to learn and to evolve.
You build an internal fortress of self-trust.
Which is the only real protection against the chaos of the world.
And that really is the final compelling argument.
The fight against fear, the fight against that pervasive, persuasive pull of the comfort zone, it is the first. And it is the most crucial step toward realizing this internal and external transformation. It is the beginning of gaining that deep sense of love and connection that can only come from living a life of true purpose and continuous high-effort growth.
It is the only way to exchange the comfortable pain of the past for the meaningful effort of the future.
So as we wrap up this section, ask yourself this final reflective question. If you successfully overcame the fear of the unknown today, what is the single greatest achievement or legacy or skill or connection you could initiate that would make you feel truly aligned with a higher purpose and truly satisfied with the person you have become?
So we've taken a journey today, All the way from the collision of instinct and abstraction in our ancient past to the modern-day trap of the comfort zone.
Hmm.
And I think our core takeaway is really clear. Fear is not the monster lurking in the dark. It's not some external threat. It is the comfortable, predictable pain we choose to live with.
It's the overprotective parent who insists you remain small and dependent for your own good. The profound insight here is that familiarity is the trap. And the unknown path of knowledge, while yes, it's difficult and it requires intentional effort, is the only way to achieve genuine connection, love, and profound personal transformation.
And with that, we have to stress one final point.
Don't simply take our word for it. Put everything you heard here today to the test. Make this knowledge truly yours.
We deeply appreciate you joining us for this deep dive. If this conversation resonated with you, if it maybe offered you a new perspective, or if you just found it useful, please take a moment to like this deep dive and subscribe so you don't miss our future explorations into similar topics.
And we genuinely want to hear from you.
We do. Share your ideas, your thoughts, and especially your own experiences fighting the gravitational pull of your comfort zone in the comments section below. We read them all. Remember, the power is yours.